Imagine standing on the balcony of a massive cruise ship. It is 3:45 in the morning. The ocean is completely black. No land in sight. No sound, except the wind and distant music. Somewhere on this ship, a 23-year-old American woman is about to disappear. Forever. You're watching TrueTales USA, where real American stories come to life. Tonight, we begin a deep investigation into the mysterious disappearance of Amy Lynn Bradley, a case that has remained unsolved for more than 25 years. March 1998. The Caribbean Sea. The Rhapsody of the Seas cruises quietly through warm tropical waters. More than 2,000 passengers are asleep. Hundreds of crew members are working through the night. Everything appears calm. Everything appears controlled. But beneath the surface, something is about to go terribly wrong. Before we talk about her disappearance, we need to understand who Amy Bradley really was. Amy Lynn Bradley was born in Petersburg, Virginia. She grew up in a close American family. She played basketball. She worked as a lifeguard. She was strong, independent, confident. Friends described her as outgoing, but also cautious. She was not reckless. She did not take unnecessary risks, which makes what happened next even more disturbing. In early 1998, Amy's parents decided to book a family cruise. It was meant to be a celebration, a break from work, a chance to reconnect. For Amy, it was an opportunity to relax and enjoy freedom. She had recently finished college. She was planning her future. This trip was supposed to be a memory, not a mystery. On March 21, 1998, the Bradley family arrived in San Juan, Puerto Rico. They boarded the Rhapsody of the Seas. The ship was massive. Restaurants, pools, clubs, theaters. It felt like a floating city. To Amy, it felt exciting. To her parents, it felt safe. Or at least, that's what they believed. During the first 2 days, nothing seemed unusual. Amy explored the ship. She talked with passengers. She befriended crew members. She danced at night. She relaxed during the day. Multiple witnesses later said she appeared happy. She was smiling. She was enjoying herself. There were no signs of fear. No signs of stress. No signs of danger. But later, some details raised questions. Several passengers reported that certain crew members were unusually friendly with Amy. They spent time near her. They talked with her frequently. At the time, no one thought much about it. On cruise ships, social interaction is normal. But in hindsight, those interactions became important. If you're finding this investigation interesting so far, make sure you're subscribed to TrueTales USA. We publish in-depth stories like this, and you won't want to miss what's coming next. By the evening of March 23, the cruise was nearing Curea. That night, Amy went to the ship's nightclub. Music filled the room. Lights flashed. People danced. She met members of the ship's band. They talked. They laughed. They shared drinks. Security cameras later confirmed her presence there. She stayed for hours. No arguments. No conflicts. Nothing unusual. Until late into the night, around 3:30 a.m., Amy finally returned to her cabin. Her father would later say she sat quietly on the balcony, listening to music, watching the ocean, completely unaware that these were her final known moments. Around 3:30 in the morning, on March 24, 1998, Amy Lynn Bradley returned to her family's cabin. The hallway was quiet. Most passengers were asleep. The ship moved slowly through the Caribbean Sea. Inside the cabin, her parents were resting. Her younger brother was asleep. Amy stepped outside onto the small private balcony. She sat down on a lounge chair. She turned on her portable CD player. She looked out at the dark ocean. According to her father, she seemed calm. She seemed relaxed. There was nothing unusual about her behavior. Nothing suggested fear. Nothing suggested trouble. This was the last confirmed moment anyone saw Amy alive. At around 5:15 a.m., her father, Ron Bradley, woke up. He noticed Amy was still sitting on the balcony. He saw her legs resting on the chair. He heard her music playing softly. He assumed she was asleep. He went back to bed. Less than 1 hour later, everything had changed. At approximately 6 o'clock a.m., Ron woke up again. He walked to the balcony. Amy was gone. Her CD player was gone. But her cigarettes were still inside the cabin. Her lighter was still there. Her shoes were still there. Her purse was untouched. Her passport was untouched. Her ID was untouched. Everything she would need to leave the ship was still in the room. This was the first major red flag. Amy did not travel without her belongings. She was responsible. She was organized. If she had planned to go somewhere, she would have taken her things. But she didn't. At first, her parents assumed something simple. Maybe she went to get coffee. Maybe she went for a walk. Maybe she was watching the sunrise. Cruise ships offer early morning activities. Passengers sometimes explore at dawn. So they waited. Minutes passed. Then more minutes. Amy did not return. Concern slowly turned into fear. By 6:30 a.m., the family began searching the ship. They checked the cafeteria, the pool deck, the hallways, public lounges. No sign of Amy. They asked crew members. No one had seen her. They went to guest services. They reported her missing. And this is where one of the most controversial decisions happened. The ship did not stop. The ship did not turn around. The ship did not immediately alert authorities. Instead, the crew told the family to wait. They said, she probably went ashore. She might be exploring. She'll come back. But the family knew something was wrong. More than 3 hours passed before an official announcement was made. 3 critical hours. 3 hours where evidence could disappear. 3 hours where witnesses could leave. 3 hours where the ocean kept moving forward. By the time the Coast Guard was contacted, the ship was already far from the last known location. Search planes were sent. Boats were deployed. Divers were prepared. But there was a problem. The ocean is enormous, and time had been lost. No body was found. No clothing was found. No personal items were recovered. Nothing. Security cameras should have provided answers, but they didn't. Many recordings were missing. Some were erased. Some were never reviewed. Some cameras were not working. There was no clear footage showing Amy leaving her cabin. No footage showing her on deck. No footage showing her near railings. No footage showing her falling. This lack of video evidence remains unexplained. To this day, the crew was interviewed. Their statements did not match. Some said they saw Amy after 6 o'clock a.m. Others said they did not. Some claimed she was near the elevators. Others claimed she was on the upper deck. Timelines conflicted. Descriptions changed. Important details were inconsistent. This raised serious concerns. Was it confusion, or was it something else? Royal Caribbean's official position was simple. They suggested Amy most likely fell overboard. They argued she may have climbed the railing, may have lost balance, she may have been drinking, she may have slipped, but her family rejected this explanation strongly. Amy was afraid of heights. She did not climb railings. She was not reckless. And there were no witnesses. No splash, no scream, no evidence. Nothing supported the theory. Medical experts also questioned it. Falling overboard is rare. It is difficult. Cruise ship railings are high, designed for safety. Accidental falls are uncommon, especially in calm weather. On that night, the sea was calm. There were no storms, no heavy winds, no dangerous conditions. So how did she disappear? If you're following this case closely so far, make sure you're subscribed to TrueTales USA. We bring you real investigations, real mysteries, real American stories, and this case is far from over. By the time the ship reached Korea, authorities were waiting. Investigators boarded. They searched cabins, they questioned staff, they reviewed logs, but most evidence was already gone. Passengers had disembarked, crew members had rotated, time had erased details, memories had faded, and the trail had grown cold. But what happened next would make this case even more disturbing. In the years after Amy vanished, multiple people claimed they had seen her alive. In different countries, in dangerous places, under terrifying circumstances. Some of these reports came from trained professionals, others came from ordinary travelers. All of them described the same woman, tall, athletic, blonde, with tattoos matching Amy's. After Amy Lynn Bradley disappeared, most people assumed the case would slowly fade away. Another missing person, another cold file, another unanswered question. But that didn't happen. Because within months, something unexpected began to occur. People started coming forward. They claimed they had seen Amy alive. The first major sighting came in 1999, a year after her disappearance. A U.S. Navy officer named Bill Hefner was stationed in Korea. One evening, he visited a local nightclub. While sitting alone, a woman approached him. She seemed nervous. She seemed afraid. She quietly said, "My name is Amy Bradley. I need help." Before he could respond, two men suddenly appeared. They grabbed her. They pulled her away. They warned him, "Don't get involved." The moment ended, and she was gone. Hafner reported the incident later. Investigators confirmed he had no connection to the Bradley family, no reason to lie, no benefit to gain. His story remained consistent. Years later, another disturbing lead emerged. In 2005, a Canadian tourist named Judy Moore was vacationing in Barbados. She entered a public restroom. Inside, she noticed a woman who looked terrified. The woman whispered, "My name is Amy. Please help me." Before Moore could act, a man entered. He pulled the woman away. He threatened her. And they disappeared. Once again, no proof. No photos, no names. Only testimony. Perhaps the most shocking evidence appeared in 2006. An American tourist named Frank Jones visited a brothel in Korea. He took several photos. In one of them, there was a woman working there. Her face, her body type, her tattoos strongly matched Amy Bradley. The photo was later analyzed by experts. Facial recognition specialists concluded there was a strong similarity, not a guarantee, but enough to raise alarms. The woman in the image was identified as Jess, a possible alias. Investigators attempted to locate her, but she had vanished. Again, Amy's family followed every lead. They traveled to the Caribbean. They met witnesses. They hired private investigators. They worked with former FBI agents. They spent their savings. They sacrificed their privacy. They refused to quit. Each time they thought they were close, the trail collapsed. Witnesses disappeared. Locations were abandoned. Records were missing. It was as if someone, or something, was always one step ahead. Many investigators began considering a darker theory: human trafficking. Cruise ships carry thousands of tourists. They stop in developing regions. They employ international crews. They create opportunities for criminals. Trafficking networks operate near major ports. They monitor tourists. They identify vulnerable targets. They wait for moments of isolation. A woman alone on a balcony at 4 a.m. could be targeted, silenced, removed, without noise, without witnesses. Some witnesses later claimed they saw Amy talking closely with crew members. Certain staff members seemed interested in her. They knew her schedule. They knew her cabin. They knew her habits. This raised serious questions. Were these interactions innocent? Or were they something more? Royal Caribbean denied any wrongdoing. No crew member was ever charged. No suspect was officially named. No arrests were made. The FBI eventually became involved. They opened a formal investigation. They analyzed international trafficking routes. They monitored online activity. They followed tips. One reward was increased to over $250,000. Still, nothing definitive emerged. No confirmed rescue. No verified location. No solid proof. Despite this, sightings continued. Different countries, different years, similar descriptions, similar tattoos, similar fear. Each report gave the family hope, each dead end crushed it, over and over again. If this story is affecting you, make sure you're subscribed to TrueTales USA. We cover cases that matter, stories that deserve attention, and voices that should never be forgotten. One detail continued to haunt investigators. Amy had distinctive tattoos, a Tasmanian devil, a Chinese symbol, a sun. These markings were rare, and yet multiple witnesses described them accurately. How could strangers know this? Unless they had seen her. But critics raised doubts. Memory is unreliable. Faces can be confused. People want to help. They may unintentionally exaggerate. False sightings happen in many cases. Hope can distort perception. So which explanation is correct, truth or illusion? As the years passed, one question became impossible to ignore. Did the investigation fail Amy Bradley? And if so, how? In the hours after Amy disappeared, every minute mattered. In missing person cases, the first 24 hours are critical. They determine whether evidence is preserved, whether witnesses are identified, whether suspects are located. In Amy's case, those hours were lost. The cruise ship did not immediately alert authorities. Passengers were allowed to leave. Crew members continued working. Cabins were cleaned. Public areas were reset. Potential evidence was destroyed, unintentionally or not. No full forensic search was conducted. That morning, no immediate lockdown, no urgent public warning. This delay remains one of the most controversial aspects of the case. When investigators finally arrived, they were working with fragments, incomplete timelines, contradictory statements, missing video, lost memories, a crime scene that no longer existed. It was like trying to solve a puzzle. After half the pieces had disappeared, the Bradley family demanded accountability. They asked Royal Caribbean for full transparency. They requested all security footage, all internal reports, all employee records. Many documents were never released. Others were heavily restricted. The company cited privacy policies, legal protections, internal procedures. To the family, it felt like a wall. In 1999, the Bradleys filed a lawsuit. They accused Royal Caribbean of negligence. They argued that security was inadequate. Response time was unacceptable. Evidence was mishandled. The company denied responsibility. They claimed they followed proper procedures. After years of legal battles, the case was settled privately. No public admission, no detailed explanation, no closure. Former cruise employees later spoke anonymously. Some claimed security systems were outdated, camera coverage was limited, staff training was inconsistent, reporting procedures were unclear. In emergencies, confusion was common, mistakes were frequent. These statements were never officially confirmed, but they matched patterns seen in other cruise incidents. Another major issue was jurisdiction. When a crime happens at sea, who is responsible? The ship was registered in the Bahamas, operated by an American company, traveling in international waters, docking in foreign ports. Multiple legal systems were involved. This complicated everything. Investigations were delayed. Authority was unclear. Information was fragmented. Responsibility was diluted. The FBI attempted to coordinate efforts. They worked with local police, international agencies, maritime authorities, but cooperation was slow. Records were incomplete. Witnesses were scattered across countries. Some crew members returned home, others disappeared into new contracts. Tracking them became nearly impossible. Experts in maritime law criticized the system. They argued that cruise companies essentially police themselves. They control evidence. They manage reports. They influence investigations. This creates conflicts of interest. Transparency becomes optional. Accountability becomes limited. Amy's case became a symbol of this problem. Over time, other families came forward. They shared similar stories: missing relatives, delayed responses, limited cooperation, hidden records. Patterns emerged. Amy was not alone. Her case exposed systemic weaknesses. Tell me in the comments, do you think cruise companies should be investigated by independent authorities, or is the current system enough? Your opinion matters. Despite obstacles, the Bradleys never stopped pushing. They contacted lawmakers. They supported maritime safety reforms. They spoke publicly. They educated travelers. They turned their tragedy into advocacy. Several safety laws were later strengthened, partly because of cases like Amy's. But for the family, legal changes were not enough. They wanted answers. They wanted truth. They wanted their daughter back. As years turned into decades, the investigation slowed. Tips decreased. Media attention faded. Files gathered dust. But the mystery remained, and resolved, and finished. More than 25 years have passed since Amy Lynn Bradley vanished. A quarter of a century. Thousands of days. Millions of unanswered questions. And still, no confirmed answers. For Amy's family, time did not heal the wound. It deepened it. Every birthday, every holiday, every family gathering, there was always an empty place, a missing voice, a silent reminder. They never buried their daughter. They never said goodbye. They never had closure. They lived in uncertainty. Day after day, year after year. Her parents continued searching. Long after media attention faded, long after investigators moved on, they kept updating websites. They kept answering calls. They kept reviewing tips. Even when hope was painful, they refused to give up. Because for them, as long as there was no proof of death, there was still possibility. Psychologists describe this as ambiguous loss, a form of grief with no ending, no conclusion, no acceptance. Families remain emotionally frozen, unable to move forward, unable to let go. Amy's parents lived inside this reality for decades. Some investigators still believe Amy fell overboard, that the ocean took her, that no crime occurred, that no conspiracy exists, that it was a tragic accident. But others strongly disagree. They point to the missing footage, the delayed response, the strange sightings, the tattoo descriptions, the inconsistent statements. To them, too many questions remain unanswered. So what is the most likely explanation? There are three main theories. First, the accident theory. Supporters say Amy may have leaned too far. She may have lost balance. She may have been tired. She may have slipped. Without witnesses, without sound, without evidence. Critics argue this is statistically unlikely and unsupported by facts. Second, the crime theory. This suggests Amy was harmed by someone on board, a passenger, a crew member, someone she trusted, someone who knew her routine, someone who had access, but without physical evidence. No suspect can be named, no charges can be filed, no justice can be served. Third, the trafficking theory, the darkest possibility, that Amy was targeted, abducted, smuggled, sold, hidden, forced into exploitation. This theory fits some sightings, some patterns, some global trends, but it also lacks definitive proof. No rescue, no confirmed identity, no documentation, only fragments. Which theory is correct? The truth is, we may never know, unless someone speaks, unless new evidence emerges, unless a hidden record is discovered. Until then, the mystery remains. Amy's case changed the cruise industry. It increased awareness. It pushed for reforms. It encouraged travelers to be cautious. It forced companies to improve safety. Her disappearance saved lives, even if it couldn't save her. Today, true crime communities still discuss her case. Online forums analyze details. Amateur investigators review footage. New generations discover her story. She is not forgotten. She is remembered. If you're watching this right now, you are part of that memory. By listening, by caring, by sharing, you help keep her story alive. Tell me in the comments, which theory do you believe? Accident, crime, or trafficking? And why? I read your thoughts, and they matter. You're watching TrueTales USA, where real American stories come to life. We don't just tell stories. We preserve them. We question them. We respect the victims. And we seek the truth. If you found this documentary meaningful, please like this video. Subscribe to TrueTales USA. And turn on the notification bell, so you never miss another real American story. Somewhere, a family is still waiting. Somewhere, a truth is still hidden. And somewhere, a story is still unfinished. This was the disappearance of Amy Lynn Bradley. Thank you for watching.